Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Girls for Greatness podcast. This is your first time listening in, or if you are a regular listener, thank you so much for tuning in today. It is always an honor to have you here. You are listening in today to episode number 154. I am your host, Delia Perry, and today I am joined by Lisa Carmichael. Lisa is an entrepreneur and marketing professional who also happens to be a military spouse and the mother of now 3 adult children. After becoming a published author, Lisa started Epic Mastermind for mompreneurs who are ready to move their business forward to new levels. Lisa's marketing business focuses in on developing strong relationships and empowering her clients to stand out from their competitors and manage their reputations and legacies. My friends, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Lisa Carmichael. Lisa, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yes. I hope I got all of that information right, since that was my second take.
Definitely. And
Good.
Congratulations on 154
Thank
episodes.
you.
That says a lot about you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I always like to start off by just asking you to tell us just a little bit about you and maybe where you're from, and we'll just kind of go in from there.
Sounds good. So I live in Minnesota and it's snowing super big flakes right now. Yeah, March 14th. And I am someone that has learned to go with the flow and just overcome the obstacles because they're going to come, and it's a choice of how you want to handle life. So it's snowing and you just look for the beauty and go with the flow with it. So I am a mom. I started my Epic Mastermind as a result of becoming an empty nester. And I don't think motherhood is hard, but it changes. It's so diverse. There's so many things that happen on the journey of motherhood.
That's so true. Tell me a little about, because I know you were in business, correct? Like when your kids were younger, you had your own career, and tell me a little bit about like what that whole journey was like.
Well, my first obstacle was, not only with my husband being in the military, but my oldest son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And I had just had my third child. I had 3 in diapers. So I completely get the mom obstacle thing. And, my beautiful boy, it was something that I didn't expect, that, you expect your children to be perfect. Yep. And he is perfect. He's 25 years old now, and he's amazing. He has learned to be his own advocate, and I reached out for help with other people. He is where he is because of the other people that came into our lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it wasn't I'm not an overnight success. I did work corporately before my 3 kids. My third was my ticket for staying home. And I slowly built my business. Slow and steady wins the race. And I just had this urge to become a published author. And I just felt like, having that title just really justified everything, that from childhood to becoming a mom and becoming an empty nester.
That's awesome. And that was the I Have Time for You book. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, like what that is about, because I loved reading a little bit about that on your site.
Yeah, great. It is a book of affirmations. If I could, I just want to explain how it came to be.
Yeah.
So I was invited to participate in a mentorship program through the military. And my husband, retired veteran, I was allowed or accepted because it was an application process. And I would go to these meetings with amazing entrepreneurs who were being very successful. And I went in trying to learn, trying to figure things out. I literally, Delia, I would go in the ladies' restroom during breaks and I would do breathing exercises because I was so overwhelmed. I would be like saying affirmations to myself. I will be okay. Wow. I don't understand. I don't need to understand. And then I'd go back in the meeting and all was good. And it was like, hey, this is working. And so what was going for me in that entrepreneurship group was I was journaling. I was writing daily affirmations. I was trying to reprogram my thinking that I was good enough and that I was worthy of building a successful business and that abundance was coming to me and that I was just waiting for it instead of always grabbing and worrying.
Sure.
And so the affirmations changed my life, changed my mindset. And I felt, why not share this with other women that they can change their lives too, just by reprogramming what they're saying to themselves, because we beat ourselves up. We're our worst critic. We all know
So
that.
True. So true.
And so, yeah, I was encouraged to write a book, and through that support, I felt like, you know what, this was meant to be.
That's awesome.
The second thing that came out of that mastermind group, it was Epic Mastermind.
That's really cool. So tell me, I mean, just from what you said, going back, like, with the affirmations, was it for you like a situation where, you were feeling like you didn't belong in the group? Like, is that kind of where the anxiety and where you were thinking like, I need to take a break and excuse myself for a second and gather myself? I'm just curious, like what those feelings were for you.
Kind of like that. That struggling entrepreneur really was kicking my butt when I was seeing these people that were changing the world, traveling the world, making a difference. And I was struggling. And there was someone in the group that called me out. And I don't think she meant to call me out, but she said, well, maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. Well, I'm like,
wow.
You can't say that to me.
Right.
You don't understand. And maybe that was the kick in the butt that I needed to make this work. And I truly believe that group was a gift. And at that point, I made the decision. It was a conscious decision that I was going to take that gift and make a difference for other women and for myself and for my family.
I love that. I love that. So after the book is when you came up with the Epic Mastermind. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. So the other thing that came out of that entrepreneur group was I knew that if this group could make that big of a difference in my life, that this is something that I could share with other people. And hey, if it worked for the military, I knew it could work for any entrepreneur. So I kind of niched it down, and being that my book really is for women, my focus is to help mompreneurs, the women, girls for greatness popped up in my eyesight. Yeah. That we are here to support each other. And that's what Epic Mastermind is all about. So I basically, with the blessing of the military group, duplicated their program. And now it's just evolving, and it's just like manifesting into something really wonderful that's really helping the women that are stuck and struggling and don't realize that there are some solutions out there when you put more brains together.
Sure. What are some of the things that you feel like you run into the most when it comes to the women that you work with in terms of, especially, mompreneurs, like you said? I mean, I've been one, I've done different things with businesses, and it's definitely a lot to juggle. And you have to really, I think, wrap your head around priorities and what's your way of doing things and what's going to work for you. I mean, there's really I always felt like as much as maybe the business I was involved with wanted to give you some clear-cut guidelines or tell you that this is the way it had to be done. Yeah. Everybody's obviously different. Their schedules are different. Their home life situation is different. But I'm curious for you, like, what are some of the things that you've seen women struggle with most?
What I have seen is, it's kind of cliche, but it's kind of a change in the mindset of the can't do versus can do. That there are, since COVID, so many opportunities are out there waiting for us. The internet is wide open. We're worldwide. My first mastermind group, I had 3 people from Canada. I had 1 person from the UK. It's the right now the possibilities are endless. And when we think small and think that I'm overwhelmed, I don't have time to do this, that's when you stay stuck in what you're. Yeah. And it really boils down to mindset.
Sure.
And mindset was, that is the common denominator in all successful entrepreneurs,
Right.
is that they are focusing time on mindset every day. It's part of their daily method of operation.
Right. How do you advise then that people start to shift out of that can't mindset?
By recognizing it. Everything is baby steps. When you notice that in yourself, that's when the shift happens. And if you're not noticing it, that's when you reach out and you ask for help. It takes a village to raise children, and it takes a village to build an entrepreneur business. We can't do it alone.
Right.
We are social beings. We weren't meant to do things alone. I mean, yeah, introverts, it's okay to hunker down and be creative. And I would not have been able to write a book if I wouldn't have hunkered down and really dug deep.
Sure.
But when we're willing to face the things that we are struggling with, those can't do things, and recognize, oh, that's another one of my fears that I have, that's when you break through to the next level.
Just the recognition of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've seen. That's my personal observation.
That's awesome. What for you have been some of your biggest obstacles as you've kind of moved from, publishing your book to now creating, your mastermind? I'm just curious, like for you, what are some of the things that you've noticed about yourself and what you've had to shift with and expand?
That's a good question. I feel like I've shifted and it, I think the realization is that once you think you've reached that level, there's another level. There's always something. Once you think you've figured out yourself,
right,
there's something new to learn.
Sure.
And that has been a really big piece in accepting who I am and just allowing what's meant to be. Going back to that frustration of, you're always trying to get something better and be better. But when you realize that better will come to you, it'll come naturally.
That's true.
I think maybe if it would be a frustration, it would be just wanting to reach out to as many people as I can to share this message of, there's competition is over. That game is pre-COVID. Post-COVID is partnerships, collaborations, working together, helping each other be successful. Just like what you're doing with your podcast.
That's true. Yeah, I thank you. I do agree though, that's a huge component. And that topic, that theme, I think has come up more in the last year than I think I ever remember it coming up before. Just that whole idea of collaboration and, collaboration over competition, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important because I think there are so many people who, have struggled and yet are still wanting to move forward and, starting new and starting fresh and all of those things. So.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was in sales pre-COVID and we were 100% commission. And that was such an unhealthy atmosphere because we were always trying to beat each other. When I finally took a step back and realized that my best competition was myself, and then I stopped competing against everybody, I just started keeping track of my numbers, watching what I was doing, where I was the year before. That's when people were like, Lisa, you're doing amazing. What is going on? What changed? And that was my realization. I could no longer compete against people because it wasn't healthy. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. But when I competed against myself, that changed everything. Because I was happier. I was focused on my mindset. And it was no longer beating somebody else, being better than somebody else. And that's where partnerships and collaborations, that's why that works. That's why it's such a successful concept. So we are trendsetters. We're the this is a new concept that we're rolling out to people. And hopefully people will start understanding it.
So true. That's so true. I know a big part of, what you're about as well, is, empowering other women to just become, healthier and better, in their life and, all of it. I'm curious for you, like, what are some of your practices that you use to kind of keep yourself grounded in that?
I should just be embarrassed by this, but I am like the self-care junkie. So while I was writing my book, I made the choice I wanted to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I had to take the emotion out of it. So every day on Instagram at 10 o'clock, usually, I would just post something that I was grateful for. Well, being grateful raises your vibration, and it's a feel good kind of thing. So that's one thing. I get facials every month. I love getting my hydrofacials. I get pedicures. I'm teaching my daughter. She's not a child, she's an adult. I'm doing the things that I know I want to do, and I'm living the lifestyle that I have always wanted to. So I do Pilates. And then this morning I did a cold water plunge, and that definitely will set your mind straight. If you immerse yourself in freezing cold water at 32 degrees for about 3 minutes, you'll be a changed person. I guarantee it.
I totally agree. We've been talking about that, you guys. And so, yes, I'm a big advocate of the same.
Have you shared that on your podcast?
I have not. It's something that I've actually, for those of you listening and watching, whatever, have been trying to embrace as well myself. I'm unfortunate in that I don't live close to a lake. So for me, I've just been using my bathtub and filling it up with cold water and ice every day. And, there's not a day that I want to sit in that. There's not a day that I put my foot in that water and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun. But you really learn a lot about the power of your breath, the power of, I think just what you are capable of mentally, sustaining when you can control your breath, when you can get present to the moment. And, it's an energizer unlike anything else. I will tell you that.
Awesome. It's amazing. I'm so proud of you, Delia. I'm proud of you for doing it alone. For me, I'm going with a group.
Yeah.
They are there. They're very supportive. And when I'm like stuck in my head, because I'm like, oh my God, it's so cold. It's so cold. I have the support to say, you'll be okay. Yeah. And when you have that support, it just makes it a little bit easier. So you're welcome to come visit me.
Yes, I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. That's awesome. No, I love everything that you've shared, Lisa. These are just really, really great words of wisdom.
Self-care is just so important.
It is.
I mean, we hear it over and over again, and until you're really willing to embrace it, it really, you just don't get it. And, self-care is also giving to others, letting go of worrying about, should I do this for this person, but just doing it and not expecting anything. It's one of those sayings of attach yourself to the process and detach to the outcome.
That's so true. That's so true. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I know we've talked about this before on here, you guys, the whole topic of self-care and how important it is, and how so often as women, we think we don't have time. We don't have, the resources, whatever, to be able to do, what we want to do to empower ourselves. And it doesn't have to be costly by any means, but it's just taking the time, I think, for yourself to acknowledge, because I totally echo what Lisa said. I think when we are doing that, we are so much better for ourselves, but for others. I mean, I know for myself, when I put everything about me and what I need on the back burner, I'm really not at my best. for
Right.
anyone else.
Yeah. And it's one of those, like, it's like a gnawing thing.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not taking care of myself. And then you go down that rabbit hole of,
right.
oh, another day I didn't take care of myself.
Yes.
And so when you prioritize it and do it,
right.
It just, it's amazing.
Right.
And I wish I would have
right.
done a lot more self-care when my kids were younger.
Yes. And I think a lot of that too, the importance of self-care and actually doing it. And you may not feel this in the beginning, but you know, that a lot of that comes back to, I believe, your self-worth. And a lot of people, I think, really feel like they're not worth that time. They're not worth that effort. They're not worth whatever. And that is so far from the truth. I don't care where anyone is at today. It's so far from the truth. So keep that in mind.
Here, I agree. Yeah.
Keep that in mind. No, thank you so much, Lisa. I wanted to end with 2 questions that I ask all my listeners. So the first one is, tell me 3 words that best describe who you really and truly are.
Unique.
Mm-hmm.
I'm embracing unique.
Yep.
And vulnerable, because I am open to being completely transparent in anything and everything that I've done in my business to find the success that I have. And if I'm being transparent about my self-care, because I know that is so important. And I know that where there's a will, there's a way. So yeah, I'm unique, vulnerable, and then action. I am an action taker. My actions are baby steps. They're always baby steps. And I do fret when I have to take a giant step, but every baby step brings me close, makes those giant steps a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Those are all great words.
Good.
And my last question.
Words have
me too,
so much emotion.
Yes. And you're so good about that, especially when it comes to affirmations. You're absolutely right. How do you embody greatness?
By taking time for myself. By realizing that I am worthy of it. And one of my morning mantras, one of my morning affirmations, and this is kind of a quirky thing to say, but this is me. I'm going to share it, and hopefully it'll come back from memory, because usually I write it. I write my affirmations. So I have to get in the right brain.
No, you're good.
My purpose is love. I am a goddess. I surrender to staying connected to my loving heart. I am a princess. My vulnerability and transparency are my strength and shield. I am a queen. I am worthy of leadership energy. I am a maiden. My tone shows kindness and compassion. I am a high priestess. I am grateful and grounded in these core values and beliefs. And I just
That's awesome.
That, and that is something I write down twice a day.
That is great. So
it's really vulnerable saying it.
No, sure. No, I love it though, Lisa. I love it. I think that brings up such a great point too, that, writing it solidifies so much more than just maybe thinking. I do a similar practice, but it's just writing down like ways of being that I want to embrace that day. I put it right in my planner every day. Like, I choose to be blah, 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 blah. And I've talked about that before on here too, but that's so important because it lays out an intention, which is so important.
It's another great word. Intentional.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for being here today. This was so much fun. And I really, truly appreciate you taking the time. And I just love the work that you're doing. I think it's so important, and just love that you're putting things out into the world in your own unique way. So Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Delia. Thank you for making a difference. You can also go to my website.
Yes.
If you want to reach out to me.
Of course.
I have a free downloadable that will definitely help you with online strategies, because again, the world has changed. We're worldwide. And I have 7 secrets that will help move your business forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys. And I will definitely have all of that linked up in the show notes. So be sure to check all of that out. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Super. Thanks, Delia. Have a great day.